thanks for checking out the video. Today, after a rather convoluted journey, I've made it to this river. And now I'm going to attempt to follow the river all the way down to the sea, where it's quite a nice beach, and also there's an old fort from the 1800s as well, which I haven't been to for many years, but hopefully there's still something to see there. I'm hoping to spend the night out tonight, but the problem is, as always, on the south coast, and indeed the closer you get to the coast, the more urbanisation you get, you know, and finding a decent woodland or forest is nigh on impossible. On the long hike in, I noticed there was one or two meadows with strips of woodland beside them, so, you know, if I can get back there by tonight, you know, I've got half a chance. I've never seen as many, or as so early, as these blackberries, and they're delicious. It's all been fenced off since the last time I was here, and it's rather overgrown as well. Built in 1854, there's not much of the fort discernible now. It's mostly all there, it's just completely overgrown by shrubbery. You can just about make out the moat structure in front of it, which ironically contained the Carnot wall, a French mathematician's idea, which was used to build this fort, which was of course built for fear of invasion from the French. Got to keep moving because I've got quite a long way to go back if I want to get to the areas where there's a chance of camping. So I'm not going back along the riverbank, I'm heading west at the moment along the coast, and then I'm going to duck up inland and zigzag my way across to roughly the area where I started out trying to pick up the riverbank earlier this morning. When was the last time that footpath was used? stopping at this graveyard because I think I'm going to have to top up the water bottle, and I've had many lovely comments in the past suggesting that it's a good place to stop sometimes as a graveyard. Usually find a tap. Even the elderberries are early around here. This is a perimeter path to an old airbase. That's one of the runways, I think. Yeah, I'm glad I sort of hyper-hydrated at the graveyard now, because some of these fields are really hot and humid. Yeah, not far now. Not good. Well, this isn't ideal. It's probably the best I can find around here with the rather short time I've got to look. There's lots of smaller fields around here, which is good. And this one has been mown some time ago for hay, I think. There's plenty of other arable fields around, and combine harvesters are working away. Of course, they could go on and work into the night, making the best of the weather. The railway isn't too far away over there, so that'll add to the noise. There's a wooded area beside the railway, but it's got a lot of low-lying water in it, and it's well fenced off, and I didn't really want to get that close to the railway. I don't know, it just didn't feel right. This just felt a little bit more less obtrusive. This just felt a little bit better here, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to put a brew on because I'm parched, and yeah, cooking on methylated spirits again today. Weather in England has been, well, it's been heat wave weather. Even though we have had a few rain showers, everything is still really bone dry because we had such a long hot dry spell. So you know, it's just not really worth taking any risks with a twig stove fire, or worse, even a bigger fire. At the moment anyway, we need just a little bit more rain. Usually the ground in England is damp pretty much all the time, you know, but at the moment it's really dry. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring out a stove just to be on the safe side. So yeah, let's get a brew on. Oh God, that's better. I needed a brew, I think. It's really nice here, but you wouldn't say it's peaceful. There's some industrial going on over there. I can hear that quite easily, and every so often a train goes by, of course, and they have to blow their horn because there's a couple of pedestrian access crossings, so they have to give some kind of audible warning. And then there's at least 2 combine harvesters working a couple of fields away, and they're being supplied by tractors to take away the grain, so that's rather noisy as well. So yeah, but it's a nice little spot. It's one of the more secluded areas around here I could find. It's not quite like being in the woods, but as I say, there's not really the woodland around here. Some of the fields have boundaries which are quite well wooded. I think they call that a shore, don't they, when it's a narrow strip of woodland, usually bordering onto a field. But to actually get into them is nigh on impossible when there's normally a drainage ditch in the middle of them as well. So I think I'm just going to settle for being up against one on the edge of a field tonight. And I might go back to what I tried a couple of weeks ago, which is turning the military cape into a kind of a bivvy bag or something similar anyway. It seemed to do the trick, and we're not forecast for any rain, or not any heavy rain tonight, but I could easily gather a few sticks and set up a shelter, a small lean-to or something like that as well. It's really hard to find a straight bit of dead wood. It's a bit of hawthorn, I think. Dinner tonight is just a simple curry. But first of all, I've got to rehydrate these dehydrated vegetables. So, just cover them with water. There's French beans, peas, mushrooms, and some soya chunks thrown in for good measure there. And they'll all kind of swell up a bit and absorb the moisture. Get the water in them as soon as, really, because they'll start absorbing it even before we put the heat on them. I think this red pepper's been bounced around the pack a little bit too much. I think we'll finish that veg off with a bit of haybox cookery to try and save on fuel. And that will continue cooking in its own heat for a while. Some oil, cumin seeds, garlic, nice and chunky. That smells good. We'll try and do some flatbreads, and kind comments I'm always getting. A couple of comments did mention chapati flour. Try chapati flour, it works better for simple flatbreads, so I got some of that and keen to try that out. Also trying to fashion some kind of little rolling pin to try and get the breads quite flat and thin, you know. Rather difficult when you're just squeezing it with your hands. Always hold back a little flour in case you add too much water. That's very nearly there. My new water containers are half litre hip flask type things. No plastic, all metal. Might be some silicone or rubber in the washer there. So 2 half-litre hip flasks. I can carry a litre of water in the haversack, and because the haversack's quite small, these just lend themselves to packing away easier. You know, they can tuck in and pack flat against the sides or the back, rather than a 1 litre bottle that contained all the volume of 1 litre in it. These spit it down a bit and just make everything a little bit easier to pack away. But they do make it heavier because you've got a bit more metal. You know, you've got 2 bottles, metal bottles, stainless steel, instead of 1. So there is a little bit more sheet metal there. So you are carrying, I think it was about 150, 170 grams more than if I was just carrying a 1 litre, single 1 litre bottle. Pretty much done. Just add in some curry powder. Put the rehydrated vegetables back in. Give it a few minutes and then wrap it up in the back in the hay box cooker. Keep it warm. Running out of fuel already. I might leave the simmer ring off. I'm not sure if you should put oil in the pan or the skillet when you're making flatbreads, but for fear of it sticking to this thin aluminium stuff, I just put some in the hopes that it'll keep it moving. Last one. Here we go then. Yeah, nice curry. And the flatbread's a bit nicer with chapati flour, definitely, and also easier to make. Just got a bee in my bonnet about making flatbreads, for making any bread at camp really. It's quite useful to be able to do that. Doesn't half make a mess of the pan though. I've gone for a sort of very low, very flat plough point type configuration, purely because when I was cooking I noticed there was a bit of a breeze from the west, and although it's dropped off now, if it did pick up in the night, you know, a plough share or plough point gives some protection from the wind. It gives more shelter than, for example, a lean-to, and a small lean-to would have been pretty easy to do. It's a much lower, much flatter profile than I'd normally do with a plough point. Well, most people would pull the high end up much higher, but obviously I've got no trees here. Unfortunately, I'm not in the forest, so I've had to use a stick. So therefore I can't put the same kind of strain on things. I can't make the ridgeline as tight as I normally would like. I've just brought my lightweight titanium pegs with me, and they've gone into this ground okay, but you couldn't really put a lot of tension on the ridgeline. Those and a small stick sort of lifted the high end up enough to get in and out, but also enough to keep it low profile and reasonably stealthy as well. Well, that was a reasonable night, although it did feel a bit cold at times. I woke up a few times a little bit cold. It wasn't predicted to drop below 15 centigrade, I think, but I'm wondering if perhaps it did get close to that or a little bit lower. Yeah, no, apart from that, it was a pretty good night. Quite noisy, not so much with farmers and trains and things, that all seemed to quieten down. It was more wildlife, which was nice, you know, owls, and I could hear deer barking, and I could hear them moving around as well, and various other movements were going on all around the place, so that was quite nice. Yeah, time to pack up and get a brew on, I think.